Cool.
All right, so we have the man, myth, the legend, Mr. Ryan Pineda. How you doing, buddy?
It's good to chat with you as always, man.
Absolutely, man. I always appreciate the opportunity. You are doing some big things in the real estate game, much bigger than I have. And I just wanted to get your feeling. What do you think is going to happen in 2025? We just put 2024 in the books. And you've got to make some big dollar decisions, right? Where you're marketing, where you're investing, all of those things. So I'm just curious, what are you doing?
Well, first off, I mean, we got a new president in. And so I think most people are optimistic about that and where he's taking things. So whenever there's good market sentiment, that's always encouraging, regardless of how you feel about him.
Right.
I think it's better for the market overall. But yeah, dude, I mean, I'm focused on a lot of things this year. It just kind of depends where you want to start. Yeah.
Well, let's start with the Trump. Let's start with Trump, right? We're recording this the day after the inauguration.
Yep.
We have seen, without a question, business sentiment change in a pretty big way. Right, we've seen a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, create new job requisitions. We saw the JOLTS report, surprise to the upside. So I'm curious, you run a lot of businesses. Did you throw away your, 2025 plan when the election results came in? Like, were you thinking one way, and now that Trump was, you're doing something different, or what's going on?
I think I was already thinking this way as far as what I'm about to do. And him getting elected and now seeing all the positive sentiments since, he won has just amplified and made me say, hey, I'm going to double down. I'm going to spend more. I'm going to hire more people. I'm going to do even more than I thought. But same plan, just more.
Yeah, just more.
Exactly.
That is surprising because I talked to a lot of people in the Silicon Valley right after the election. And given the resounding victory, right, all the swing states won the popular vote, I had multiple executives in my network say point blank that they had to throw away their 2025 plan.
Well, tech is a little different. Silicon Valley is different.
A little bit, but still just the dramatic shift, right? They went from conserve, stay below the radar to, all right, time to go after. And some of them are going to do some acquisitions. And
yeah, so way more optimistic changes.
Oh, all growth, all oriented, all, no gas, all gas, no break is what it kind of feels like.
Yeah, and that's great. One thing I've realized now being an entrepreneur for 10 plus years is like, I used to not think that the president mattered. I used to not think that the government, I'm like, hey, I just got to do what I got to do and I'll be successful. And that's true when you're first starting out. It absolutely is true. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's the president if you're going to go flip couches.
Right.
Even if you want to go flip a house or buy a rental property, like it really doesn't matter. But once you're, these Silicon Valley companies and you're running, billion-dollar companies, or even if you're running a multi-million-dollar company, government policy matters a lot because people are buying things from you. People are borrowing. People are, if you're a business where people spend disposable income on your thing, I mean, if they ain't got disposable income and they don't feel confident that they're going to make money, then they don't buy your thing.
Yeah. One of the things that just got announced this morning, you may not have even seen it.
I don't watch the news, so I probably didn't see it.
Probably didn't see it. Well, you may have come across your radar, but there's going to be a $500 billion investment in data centers all around AI. So AI was already top of mind for a lot of organizations. I'm just curious, are you using it? Are you leveraging it? How does it impact Ryan Pineda's world?
So 2025 is the year that I am focused for long-term learning of AI. So what I mean is, yes, there's things that's impacting today in my business, but this is the year that I'm like really going deep on it because I know the next bunch of years it's going to be huge. So as far as like what it does today, I think for our marketing, it's helping a ton. So we're able to do copywriting way faster. We're able to come up with better ad ideas way quicker. All of our landing pages are optimized. So many things are already being implemented with AI. Also, too, with automations on following up with our leads, automations with, texting properly. Right now, we're actually going to use AI to figure out from our database, like which leads are the most qualified, which ones should we spend more time with. So AI is already getting used today in our business, but like I'm still not even aware of the possibilities.
Yeah, I think there's, especially someone like yourself who does a lot of content creation, right? Long form content. What intrigues me possibility of AI is, you've always done the whole, let's do a 90-minute, 2-hour show. My team will cut it up and we'll make 50 pieces of content, right?
Yep.
Kind of the Hormozy and Gary Vee way. It'll just be interesting to see where that goes because I think there's just so many more things AI could repurpose. And maybe almost, theoretically you can take 12 hours of content, write a book, right? Summarize
Easily.
it, write a book. It's just
Easily.
it's what's coming.
Yeah, I did a post like that, and people really didn't like it. And then the more I thought about it, the more I also didn't want to put it out. I got rid of it, even though it went viral, because I didn't want my ghostwriters and people to feel bad like I was discounting their work, because I had somebody help me out writing The Wealthy Way.
Right.
And I spent tens of thousands of dollars, lots of money, to have them help me.
Yeah.
And I love it. They did a great job. We worked together. It was awesome. Took a couple of years to produce.
Right.
But I basically said, look, for a guy like me who has so much content out there, AI is going to be able to write better than them at some point. It may not be there today, but it's going to be there.
But even
there's
if
no
it
doubt
just-
about
yeah,
it.
Even if it only got to 90%, because one of the things that AI has is it could lose your voice, right? One of the things that you and I will have as content creators is we're real people with real stories.
Yep.
Right? AI misses that piece. At least it does today. Who knows if it'll get
Yeah,
there?
but it will get it.
Yeah.
Like, it will get it way better than a ghostwriter. Because think about it. What does a ghostwriter do? They watch lots of my content. They understand how I speak.
Yeah.
All this stuff. AI is going to analyze all my content instantly.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, no, this is how Ryan would answer it. This is what he would say
Right.
for this situation.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild to see how AI is used to produce content, and I fully expect there to be complete channels that are just 100% AI generated.
Well, that's kind of already happens. They got like faceless YouTube
Yeah.
channels and stuff like that. So AI will keep kind of on that trend.
Yeah.
But yeah, even like back to the whole ghostwriting thing, it's like AI will be able to produce the book in literally minutes.
Yeah.
Now, is that the book you're going to publish?
Probably
no.
not, but yeah.
But it's the bones.
For sure.
And you're going to be able to prompt it and fix it and get a real human to go in there and read it and rewrite different aspects. But to build the bones of a book could take a year.
For sure.
And now you have the bones instantly.
Yeah. I know there was somebody I work with who wanted to become known for doing small business lending.
Yeah.
And he worked with, I don't know, ChatGPT or one of the other ones, Claude or whatever it was, and actually wrote 100 articles in about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Just around his niche, and did a whole plan and series. And
I don't even know how they're going to do SEO now.
yes, so much.
It's crazy that they could just have infinite content.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it's going to be crazy. But I mean, like, to bring it back to real estate, for me anyways, I've shared it on your show and my show too, just the last couple of years, and losing money on flips when the market shifted, to then transitioning to mainly wholesale in 2024. And that's kind of going to be my thing going forward. I basically have two paths I'm doing. One is the wholesale path.
Okay.
And my goal in the wholesale path is to get to $300K a month in wholesaling and what we call innovations.
Is that top line?
Top line.
Okay.
$300K a month, top line. I think I could net probably 40 to 50% of that.
Oh, margin. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then I want, and by the way, the reason I think I can net that is because I think I can get my marketing costs to be a really low percentage of that top line. Now, I could talk about how that's going to happen.
Okay.
And then I want to do about $200K a month flipping houses. And the reason I'm separating them is because on the wholesale side, I'm going direct to seller with our Facebook ads and everything else we do at like Lead Kitchen. And then on the flip side, that's where I'm going to use all my relationships. So over the last year, I have not been buying from wholesalers. I have not been focused on the MLS because I've just been a wholesaler myself.
Sure.
But now that the market's good, I'm optimistic.
Right.
I think prices are going to go up and demand is going to increase. It's a great time to start flipping again.
Okay.
So for me, I'm just going to be buying from wholesalers and finding deals off the MLS. And my criteria is I'm only buying in Vegas for flips.
Yep.
I will wholesale nationwide. And I just want 4 flips a month, 50K profits. That's the goal.
So let's talk about Vegas real estate market. It's a place we both play. I'm looking to just get a single rental. I'm not playing anywhere close to your level. But I'm curious, the LA fires, the destruction there, you know, just all of that. Have you already seen, or do you predict kind of an inflow of more SoCal residents to Vegas?
That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah. That's what I'm hearing too.
Yeah. I was listening to a couple of the realtor guys out there, and they basically said all these people that are displaced, which are a lot, there's no rentals. They have literally nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They're trying to find rentals. There are none available. I don't know what they're going to, like, I don't even know what I would do if I was them. I mean, you could go to I don't know, Riverside or the Inland Empire, like an hour and a half, 2 hours away, Orange County.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what they're going to do. And then the question becomes, it's only temporary too,
Right.
for what they're doing. So they're going to all have to just decide, like, where do I want to take my life?
Yeah, and the reality is it's years. The best case I've heard is 3 to 5 years, and it's probably more like 5 to 10.
Well, dude, I saw Cardone's house in Malibu.
Yeah,
His is the only one standing.
I saw that.
I actually texted him about it. I'm like, dude, like, how do you feel about the, like, on one hand, should it have burned down? Like, because what do you do if you're that one house and you're the only one standing next to
just destruction,
rubble?
Rubble, that's bad.
Like, does it make it more valuable because it's the only one, or does it make it worth way less because nobody wants to be around that? I don't know.
Yeah, Carbon Beach got hit really, really hard.
Yeah, and I don't know, dude. If first off, these people can't wait 3 years to go build a house.
No.
They need
got kids.
Today.
That's the thing, right? They got families. They got to put them in school.
Yeah.
They want the kids to feel normal. They already lost all their toys, all their stuff.
Yep. So I don't know what's going to happen on that front, but I would expect a lot of people to leave. A lot of people, and by the way, usually it just takes like, you know, what do they say? The straw that broke the camel's back.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were already kind of at that point of like, dude, thinking about leaving. This is expensive. The policies here suck.
Yeah.
And then now you're forced.
Yeah, well, I lived through the Loma Prieta earthquake. I think it was in 1989, and we saw the same thing in the Silicon Valley. Right, there was about a 6 or 9 month window where just like they were afraid of the next earthquake, it was going to come again, and people just left.
Well, dude, these wildfires happen every year.
Yes, they do.
I've been saying that about Florida too. I'm like,
hurricanes. Yeah.
Why do we keep getting surprised that insurers don't want to insure these homes? It happens every year. I wouldn't insure this home.
Yeah. I was talking to one of the CEOs steadily today, as a matter of fact, about what are the ramifications going to be. And he's like, Michael, I got no good news for you. Right? Insurers are already leaving California.
Yep.
He's like, they could all go.
Yeah. Like nobody's forcing them. There's no law that
Nope.
they have to insure homes.
Nope.
So it's either going to be, there's going to be people who insure, but it's going to be 5 times the price. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it for 5 times the price.
Yeah.
We'll take the risk.
Right.
But now what's that do to your mortgage and everything? I mean, your mortgage just doubled because of insurance. Like, I don't know.
No, I mean, it's going to get wild. We could all be stuck in California with what's called the FAIR plan.
What's that?
That's the California state-backed insurance. It doesn't do liability. It only does fire. It's only certain. I mean, it's very much under insurance. But you know,
that's all they got.
That's all they got, right? It may be all they got. So again, the whole story is it's going to get worse before it gets better in California, because what eventually has to happen is the voters have to stand up and demand a change. And you know, this individual's like, that's years away. So
I was in Maui a couple of months ago, and I remember, you know, the Maui fires a few years ago, and we went by Lahaina just for a little bit.
Oh wow.
And it was just like, I remember this city as like this amazing little town. It was awesome. Yeah. Literally nothing.
Wow. Still.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Hawaii's worse than California for building.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Their permit process, the cost, everything's worse in Hawaii. Like, if you think California's bad with getting things done,
really,
Hawaii's even worse.
I had no idea. I always assumed California was the worst. I guess I feel a little bit
there's
better.
less workers.
That's true, right? Yeah.
There's only so many in getting material.
Yeah, it's all shipped in.
Everything's harder in Hawaii.
That's a very good point. Well, let's talk about 2025, the mainland, if we will. Then, you have any hopes for smaller homes being built? Because again, for a long time we've been doing McMansions. You have any thoughts on interest rates? What do you think is going to influence? And you've already said you think prices are going to go up from here. What are you seeing in 25?
My predictions are as follow. So I'll talk about what it relates to me and what I do versus, the overall picture. Okay. So for me, like I said, I'm going real hard on wholesaling and flipping. People say, oh, things get easier in a down market. No, they don't. Like, I've yet to find one person that was like, dude, it's so much better.
Is better.
No. And I heard so many people say that as, I got in the business in 2010 when it was really hard.
Yeah.
And people are like, man, I wish I was there in 2010. Well, guess what? No one had money. So
no lending. No, I mean, it was
nothing.
Bad. It was bad. Yeah.
So I don't know where that theory came from that things are better in a down market, but I don't believe that. So, number one, I'm optimistic that we're going into a good market.
And a good market defined as?
A good market being transaction volume. So, to me, a good market is, number one, transactions are happening. And then number two, yeah, there's price appreciation, right? So, as long as those two things are happening, I'm good. I actually heard this statistic the other day that these last 2 years in real estate, statistically, were the worst that we would encounter in my lifetime.
Yeah, they were.
And I go, well, I lived during the Great Recession. I mean, yeah, I wasn't active, but how are you going to say that this was worse than that? Well, the reason is not because prices didn't drop like they did then, but because transaction volume was at an all-time low.
Exactly.
And we'll probably never see it that bad again.
Yeah. What year were you born?
89.
Yeah, because again, I've studied real estate all the way back to 1970, and the worst year on record was 1982. We did 1.99 million existing home sales.
Mm-hmm.
In 1978, we did 4 million. So we went from 4 million in 78 to just under 2 million in 1982, obviously because rates went to 18 or 19%, right? So there was a 50% crash in real estate transactions. So where we disagree on 25 is I think 25 will be the last hard year.
Yeah.
And probably the hardest year on transactions, because I believe what's going to be reported in 25 is we did 4.05 million transactions, all existing home sales excluding new. I think we do sub 4 million existing homes. However, I do have, the rainbow at the end of the tunnel is 26 will be better, 27 will be better, 28 will be better. So the folks that make it through and grind and have the systems will eat like a Las Vegas buffet in 26 because you'll have no freaking competition.
Yeah.
All these weak folks that were living on hopium will be gone, and you will just feast in 26.
Yeah. What I have seen anyways is that tons of people were flipping, wholesaling from 2020 to 2022.
Sure.
When things got hard, 23 and 24, a lot of them left the business. A lot of realtors left the business.
Oh, for sure.
Lots of people left the business, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people lost a lot of money. And they couldn't survive the storm, so they went back to getting jobs in other industries and whatever else, which we could talk about too.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Working jobs is, in situations like this, it ain't such a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
But the way I look at it now is like I'm past all my bad deals now.
Right.
Paid them all off, got my lenders paid back. This is the first year going into the year. I'm not going in with bad debt from the previous year. Like, I feel good. Lots of reserves, great team. And that's just me personally.
Right.
So that's why I'm optimistic about 25 for me personally.
No, I think you're set up to kill it in 25 because you've gone through the glass and you've become out stronger.
Yeah.
Right. You know what you know, and you know what not to repeat.
Yep.
But I think for the masses, right, and again, this isn't necessarily Vegas. I think Vegas would be very unique, i.e. the LA fires, migration, all of that, especially with flipping. I think you're set up fine. But when you talk nationally, I do want the realtors and brokers and lenders and just one more, like we got 50 more weeks, right, to get through to the bottom of transactions. And then if you can survive that for the next decade, every year will be better than the previous year.
I agree.
Just like last time.
I agree. And I agree on that point that this year in 2025 will be the worst of all the years to come.
Exactly. Yeah, and then every year from here just, and 3 or 4 years from now, you're going to have guys come to you going, oh, I wish I was doing it.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
and that's the thing, too, because people will listen to us and they'll be like, well, Michael, you said that 2025 is still going to be hard. I'll just wait till 2026. And it's like, well, no, dude. By the time 2026 comes around, you think you'll just start and you have the skills?
Laps around you,
Everyone else has been doing it, grinding it out. They're ready to go crush 26.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people don't realize that real estate is not something you can turn on or off and you can just learn in a minute, right? I think it takes you at least, best case, 6 months to learn a market. I call it a buy box, as you know. But you just can't wake up looking at the MLS and go, oh, I'll buy that one. You don't think 100 people...
You don't even know anything.
Yeah, you don't know anything. How do you know why that one? I mean, it's pretty wild to think about.
Well, and the other thing I think about, too, is you just said it. Real estate doesn't, like, turn off.
Right.
So I also get in this, like, people who think they can just time the market. They think it's, like, a stock or Bitcoin or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just sell them all and then I'll wait.
Yeah, I'll wait. Yeah.
It's like, dude, if you're a full-time real estate investor, there's no, like, You just sell everything and you do nothing, and then you turn it back. Like real estate's too slow.
I've never met anybody that did that. At least did it well.
No.
Yeah. It's wild to think about.
Then what else are you going to do? If you get really good at real estate and you can make lots of money, what else are you going to do?
You know what's really crazy? So here's something I put out there. And again, this investors should really like this. I've just told you that I think real estate agents, brokers, mortgage brokers, is going to be a hard year. Do you know there's only 2 people that are going to win in 25?
Who?
I'll give you the first one I'll say is builders.
Yeah.
Big national builders who have the balance sheet that they can raise their own capital. They don't got to go to commercial banks, right? They have the balance sheet. They can issue stock to raise money. They're going to win, assuming they build smaller homes. So I expect when we look back at 2025, the average new home is about 100 to 150 square feet smaller.
What would that average be, you think?
So the average, as I just saw for 24, was just over 2,000 square feet. So let's call it 1,900.
Okay.
Right? Nothing like the 80s where it was 1,300, but still smaller, right? Because you smaller lots, all of that stuff. But they're also going to have to do, I think it wasn't Lennar, one of the other builders, pace over profit. So they're going to eat margin.
Okay.
Right. D.R. Horton just reported this morning, blowout numbers. However, they have more housing finished product than they've had in 10 years. So that's that eventually becomes overhang, which is a problem. So I think all the big builders are going to build smaller and they're going to blow out inventory. So you're going to see their margins compress. So I think new home sales go up
because they're giving people deals
because they're buying on payment. I bought on a payment. I bought a brand new home
you told me
in
Vegas.
You
just got a great new home deal.
Yeah, I got $100,000 off the purchase price. I got no lot premium. I got a big ass city view of the Strip, and I got a 4.9 in 30-year fixed rate mortgage.
How many square feet is it?
It's 4,150.
4,150.
Yeah,
nice.
And we just dropped big money in the backyard, getting the pool and all of that. So now we have stuff to look at the outside.
But you had a dirt lot.
There's a lot. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, but still a great view of the city at night. It's beautiful. Fireworks, beautiful. But we got the builder to give us everything. I asked for everything. $100,000 off, no lot premium, 30-year mortgage, sub 5, 10K this, 10K that, and
upgrades, all that.
Upgrades, it was already upgraded. We couldn't change anything, but it was done, dialed in.
Was it a model home?
No, somebody bought it, canceled.
Got it.
And then we picked it up after that. So you can find those deals. So I think builders win. Second, guys like you and I crush it this year. 2025 for the investor is a great year. Why? Inventory is building. Days on market is building. We can buy lots of ways. I give you a cash price. I give you a seller finance price. I give you a half and half price. We know how to do transaction engineering, and some people have to sell.
Yep.
Right. There will be 3.9 million or so people that have to sell. Half of those are going to go to owner ox, and the other half are going to come to investors. Guys who do the work, we're going to have an amazing 2025. But first-time home buyers, horrible year. Right? Move-up buyer, horrible year.
Why do you think it's going to be horrible for them?
There's no inventory. This interest rate lock-in, why would you leave?
Yeah.
By the way, I talk to people all the time. Lance Lambert used to write for Fortune. He works at Resi Club now as the founder. He bought a brand new home in, I think it was Nashville or Cincinnati, and got in, locked in, and then, whoops, another kid on the way. Kid comes, oops, pregnant again. Oh, by the way, we wish we had another room. Can't go anywhere, right? Homes are up 50% from when he bought.
Yep.
His mortgage rate's 2.9. Now it's 7.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
It's just go buy bunk beds.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Yeah,
bunk beds.
A bunk bed is the only solution.
That's the only answer, right?
Yeah.
Go buy bunk bed. And you hope in 7 or 8 years things change. But bunk beds are the answer for families like that.
Yeah, it's crazy because I had a really cheap rate on actually a new build. Same thing that happened to you. 2018, I bought a new build from a builder. Somebody had already picked the finishes. They backed out.
Right.
I came in, scooped it up, bought it for $600,000.
Nice.
And lived in it for 4 years. Rented it out for a couple of years. Recently sold it like a month ago for $1.25.
Woo. Nice.
Yep. So ended up being a good deal.
Yeah.
And what was my point of this? I forgot what I was saying.
Well, I think we were going to say something about interest rates. But
oh, yeah. So interest rates. I had like a 3% rate. And I chose to sell it because I don't live there.
Right. But you got a tax advantage, right? Because you lived there 2 out of the last 5 years.
So I got
so
tax-free
you and your
gains.
wife, $500,000.
Yep. Tax-free gains.
That doesn't suck.
Yep. But it kind of sucked giving up such a great rate. I had refied it, took some cash out during the way, and my mortgage was like $4,500. give or take. But, I sold it, and now I'm in the house I'm in now, and I have a 6% rate. So, like, I have if I want to sell that house and move somewhere else, it's irrelevant to me.
Right, exactly.
I'm just like, cool. Like, it's all good.
Yeah.
But I feel for the people who are in that boat where it's like, dude, my mortgage is $4,500. The same house today is double the price and a higher rate. It's going to cost me $15,000
exactly
to live in the house.
Most people, I mean, you could probably stroke that if you wanted to, but most people can't. They won't even be financially approved. The bank will laugh at them.
Yeah. Well, my mortgage now is $20,000.
Oh.
So,
well, we just talked about what you're doing monthly, so you're okay. That's right. But most people fundamentally can't make that change.
No, I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, even if it was $4,500 to $10,000.
That's why
you're going to stay in the 4,500.
That's why 2025 will suck for first-time home buyers, because until mortgage rates get sub 5, in my opinion, we aren't going to unlock meaningful entry-level housing.
Yeah.
That entry-level housing is just becoming more and more scarce. So sub 5, I think, is the magic number, and I just don't think we get sub 5 in 2025.
No, I don't think either. I think the economy is now, like, way too optimistic. That's good and bad, at least in terms of interest rates.
Sure.
Right? Like, they don't need to stimulate it. Like, people are like, oh, all right, we're feeling good.
Yeah, we were just talking about it earlier, right? Just all the business coming around. And today, mortgage rates I just saw where I think we're just over 7.08 or whatever. They call them 7%.
But you can still get 5, like you
can
said.
if you buy them down, right? Yeah. And if you go to a builder, there will be. I don't know this for sure, but I would suspect there are a lot of builders offering 4.99
for sure,
right? Couple of points, maybe 3 points. But that's why new homes going to win, and why investors are going to win existing, because I don't care about the cost of capital. I really don't. I'll pay 10%. If the deal works, the deal works.
Yep.
And then new home builders are going to win because they can just 4.99 doesn't work. Let's try 4.5.
Yeah.
And it's just a payment-based decision.
So what's your plan? Because obviously you accumulated all these rentals, one rental at a time.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got your YouTube going on. Yep. You're living in Vegas now. You're doing events. You got your event coming up.
Yep.
When is that?
February 15th and 16th, Valentine's Day weekend.
There we go. Take your wife, take your date.
That's right. Friday, Valentine's Day in the Vegas, 2 days of education, and then travel home on Monday, which is a holiday, President's Day. So that's why I do it
there
that
we
weekend.
go. And where do people get a ticket?
Eventbrite, one rental at a time. We're only down to like 40 tickets left, so get your tickets quick.
Eventbrite, so one rental at a time. But, you're doing a lot of other things now beyond where you used to just have your W-2 job.
Yep.
Then you buy rentals with your income, right?
Yep.
What's your real estate plan?
So I have 2 plans. We'll give you the big plan. So right now, I'm setting up my portfolio to repeat what I did in 2006. What I did in 2006 is I had 8 single-family homes. And single-family home got very expensive. It became very unaffordable. And what I did at that point is I sold them at the peak of the market, and I 1031'd all of that money into Class B and Class C multifamily. So I went from 8 to 80 units.
Okay.
I believe I'm going to get that same exact opportunity again, probably late 25, and maybe 2026. So I'm going to call it 40 single-family homes, and 1031 all of that equity into multifamily, which I think is going to blow up. I think there's a lot of syndications in B and C quality stuff that was badly done.
Yep.
And I'm going to pick those up for pennies on the dollar. I say this as a guy that's done it before. I bought directly from banks. I bought from small community banks, and I think single family homes continue to ratchet up in price, and I think when the market eventually breaks, because right now the only stuff trading, like Ken McElroy just bought a building in Henderson.
Oh, did he?
Class A.
I didn't know that.
I call it 90 days ago, maybe 120.
Okay.
So he just bought it in Henderson. And only Class A is trading. Class B and C is frozen because we have just a gap between what the sellers want and what the buyers will pay. And that will eventually break. So my big goal is to take, let's call it 30 homes and go get 30 apartment or 300 multifamily units.
Now, to do a 1031, obviously you got this 90-day window, essentially.
Correct. Identification, yeah.
So would you have to sell all the homes in a package to do that?
No, because I will probably not buy, I won't buy a 300-unit building. I will buy a 10, a 12, an 18, right? I will probably stay below 40 units.
So what would you would list like 40 properties?
So I'd probably do 2 or 3 at a time. Because I'll be rolling out, if I had let's say 3 properties listed, the equity's $800 to $1 million bucks. So I'll roll that I'll roll that into something, and then I'll do it again. I won't list them all at one time because that's just too stressful, right?
Why? Let somebody else do it.
No, man, that's just wild. So to get rid of 8 homes, it took us 16 months.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know it takes a long time.
It took 16 months last time. So
that's why I'm like, yeah, list all 40, whatever sells.
Maybe. I think I know the market so well. I've been looking at it every day.
But you don't want to flood your own supply.
No, exactly. I own enough stuff in certain areas where I could move the market.
Exactly.
So
you don't want to compete against yourself.
Not at all. So I'll be very selective. One here, one there, and also I don't want to catch a falling knife. If I listed all 40, how do I know when the best deals will be there? Right. I don't mind going early and then writing it down, but yeah, I'm not going to try to time the market.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's funny. I bought a deal in my country club from another member, and dude, super nice house. I'm like, I live here, and I just might. So
I just might.
What I'm gonna do is when it's done, I'm gonna list both of my houses. I'm gonna list
whichever one.
Yeah, I'm gonna list that one and mine, and whatever one sells.
You're moving the other one.
Yeah,
that's genius.
Because I've lived now. I mean, this is what I've done for years.
Right.
I've lived in mine for now 2 years.
Right.
So I'm just like always trading.
Yeah. Now you do 2 years because of the tax advantage. Because again, it's $500,000 tax free. I mean,
yeah, pretty much.
Suck. Yeah.
Yeah. There's $1 million of equity.
Yeah. Might as well go get it tax free.
Yeah. And to the point I made earlier, I do have a 20 grand mortgage, which it's not great.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it'd be nice to get rid of that. And the other one would be cheaper. The other one it's not even cheap. I bought it for $155. I put, let's say like $350 in it. You know, there's still holding costs and money costs, but I would list it at $2.5.
Okay.
And see what happens.
Right.
But if I refied $1.9, let's just say
right,
no money into it, I don't know what the more it'd be like 11 grand.
Okay. Which is less than 20.
That's less than 20.
That's like half as much.
Yeah. And yeah, the home's smaller, but it's still a $2 million. Like, I don't need my current house.
Right. That's pretty amazing. So when you look at 2025 real estate, so transactions, you know, I think Vegas will be insulated just given the demand, but I think wholesaling is a really interesting and a great move because it doesn't tie up capital.
I love it, dude.
Right. Just remind people what it is, why it is such an efficient use of capital.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about rentals right now. We're talking about, you know, multifamily, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about house flips. All of them require capital.
Yeah.
And they all have risk.
Big piles.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, a house flip could go south, like I said, and it just doesn't sell for what you think. It goes over budget, whatever. A rental can go south. A tenant wrecks it.
Mm-hmm.
It's vacant forever.
Yep.
You got to cover the monthly payment even when nobody else is renting it. Mm-hmm. So like all these things happen that make it very risky, however you dice it. But with wholesaling, man, I don't want to say there's no risk because there's risk with everything, but like it's the least risky thing you can do in real estate.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, again, people don't realize why I think it's a great move in 2025 is half your competition is gone. All the pretenders.
They are for sure gone.
Pretenders are gone. And there will be more and more people that raise their hands, right? You and I know a guy named Adrian Hernandez.
Yeah.
Right? And he's telling me that he's getting more inbound calls now than he's gotten in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people have listed with an agent, didn't do this, and some people just need to sell. And that's why I think in 25, investors are going to win because we can, I'll call it transaction engineer a solution.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't always have to be cash or a loan. It could be some other vehicles, novations, and just other ways to help people.
And that's kind of like the path we went. And, you know, for those who don't know what wholesaling is, the 1-minute version is instead of, you know, locking up a contract with a seller and then buying it yourself for a flip or rental, you sell the contract to another investor and they buy it and they just pay you a fee for connecting the dots. And the fee is just the difference between what they're willing to pay and what you have it under contract for. And so for me, when I look at that model, it's like, well, I don't have to come up with the capital. I don't take any construction risk. You also don't even take any market risk because you don't actually buy the home.
Right.
So if the market shifts 6 months from now, 4 months, it doesn't matter. You never owned it. Mm-hmm. You have no holding cost. So your only risk just becomes marketing and spending money to get in front of sellers.
Right.
And to me, the more I've thought about it, the more I'm just like, well, dude, if I could spend $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, I mean, let's just take that same money and you would apply that to say, well, let's just even say a rental, right? You buy a rental for your mortgage is $2,000 a month.
Mhm.
I mean, you're investing $2,000 a month into it,
Sure.
whether you look at it that way or not, right? And it's like, all right, well, what's the upside? Okay, I'm going to make $200. Now, granted, over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you will make money.
Mhm.
But if you're trying to make money today and quit your job, or
there's no
whatever,
chunk money in rentals.
there's no chunk money.
No.
It's long term.
Right.
So it's like, well, if somebody's just starting now and they need to make money, it's like, take the 1,000, take the 2,000, invest into marketing, and you could legitimately make 10,000, 20,000 in chunk money right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And one of the things that I appreciate conversations with you is I've always looked at the world as as a employee.
Yep.
And I believe you've always seen it as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And, employees, right or wrong, right? It's like, I'm going to sell my hours and I'm going to get a relatively certain paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. And then we live our life on that paycheck. Entrepreneurs don't see it that way. And what I see as risky, you just see as like, that's the deal.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
What do you mean risky? It's just, that's the deal.
Yep.
And you get, all the potential upside from there.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been doing this workshop that has been really successful for not only the people who have attended it, but less financially doing it.
Right.
And we call it the Cash Flow 2.0 workshop. And we do it every month now.
Oh, wow.
Anyone can go. It's virtual.
Oh.
So they can go to cashflow, the number 2 and the letter O.com. But day one, I talk about the employee mindset versus the owner mindset.
Okay.
Because you literally just said the employee mindset is, hey, I will trade my time for money.
Yeah. This is the exchange I sign up for.
Yeah, I'm good with this exchange. Like, I give you time, you give me money. It's clear what happens here.
Mhm.
I have virtually no risk as long as you're willing to give me money for my time.
Right.
On the flip side, owner's mindset is, I want to give you money for your time.
I see.
It's the opposite of the transaction.
Right.
And as an owner, a business owner, I'm more than happy to trade money for other people's time and other people's resources.
Right.
I'm more than happy to trade money because I know that that's the only scalable way to do anything. I mean, I only have so much time I can trade in exchange for money.
Right.
But once I get money, if I can find something that I can take $1 and it makes me 10, then I should just keep trading money.
No, that's
for more money.
That right there is the magic of the entrepreneur brain. You look at giving the $1 or whatever it is to the employee. Your job is to figure out the riddle to make that $1 turn into 10.
Exactly.
Right? Or 5 or whatever it is. And I don't know if you know this, but that's unique. Not everybody has that.
No, I know. Most don't,
Right.
which is why I've had to like really hammer it home day one, because we'll get a lot of employees. Most
I'm
people
sure.
are working jobs. And I tell them, I'm like, look, you could do real estate on the side or go full time. What's your goals? Everyone's got different goals. Now, most people who follow me are like, dude, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do my thing.
Of course.
A lot of people following you are like, no, dude, I'm just like,
set
wanna-
it and forget it, right?
yeah, I got a good job going on, dude. I don't need to be like
Yeah.
doing all that. So I tell them, I go, okay, well, here's the first thing you've got to get over. Okay. Right now, you think that everything should be given to you if you work hard.
Mhm.
That's an employee mindset. Hey, if I work, I deserve to get paid, because that's just how you've lived your whole life. But that ain't it.
Mm-mm.
As an entrepreneur and as a business owner or an investor, there's nothing guaranteed. We do the opposite. We say, I need money and I'm going to trade money for other people's time. That's how it works. And whether you're buying leads, somebody else used their time
Right.
to create the lead. So you're paying for their time. You know, if you're going to go rent out a building so you can go run your business, guess what? It was somebody else's time that created this business. It just always comes back to you're trading money for somebody else's time and energy for whatever it is they built.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to like grasp that, but it's like, it's the only way to freedom because you only have so much time.
Yeah. Again, hopefully I get this story correct. And if I don't, please correct me. But I remember a story you told, I think it was on a podcast, and I watched so much of your stuff. It was a story about Ed Milet. And as I recall this story, you had to pay Ed Milet a significant speaker fee to come to one of your events.
6 figures, yep.
Yeah, and you're like, how can I do this? How can I do this? And what you thought about is, well, what if I can get Ed to come a day earlier or whatever, and we could do a dinner?
Yep.
And then you created, out of nowhere, just your genius, I think it was called a diamond.
Yep, the diamond dinner.
Yeah, the diamond dinner, right? And you didn't know if that would work, but you put it together, and sure enough, it sold out in, I don't know, a day and a half.
Yeah, it sold out way faster than I
And
thought.
you're like, oh, well, I guess I just paid for Ed Milet. And really, that's
it's
a
creative
gift.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. The context of it is, we got an event called WealthCon. And ironically, the next WealthCon has Ed Milet and that dinner.
Oh,
so
there you go. Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah, real world context. If you want to buy this actually exists now.
That's awesome.
But basically what happened was I had really never paid speakers up to that point. And I had so many good friends. You've spoken at WealthCon, others who are high level, and they're like, dude, I just want to support you. Let's go. And so I finally made a decision. I was like, you know what? For us to really take it to the next level, I got to start getting some of these really big name guys. And if I got to pay, I got to pay. And so I reached out to this team, and it was 6 figures. And I'm like, whoa,
that's a big number.
Yeah, that's not what I'm used to paying. I'm used to paying nothing. And so
that's a little bit more than.
Yeah, that's a lot more than nothing. So I start, instead of being like, no, I can't afford it, it was like, how can I afford it?
That's just magical.
And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, you know what, dude? If I want Ed Milet, I'm pretty sure lots of others would too.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that people would be willing to pay a lot to be able to do extra things.
An intimate room.
Yeah, with him. And, I've heard of dinners at events and other things. And I was like, dude, you know what? I'm going to sell 10 tickets at $10,000 a piece, and that's going to cover it. And that's exactly what I did. I got, Ed to agree to doing a dinner along with his talk. We also did a podcast at his house in Laguna, which was awesome.
That was nice, yeah.
And, dude, it sold so fast. And I was like, whoa, people will really pay for these experiences. And now I got to meet Ed for free. I got to do a podcast with him for free. He spoke for free. That's how I viewed it in my mind.
Yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, I'm like, that was all free. That was money we wouldn't have got otherwise. And now Ed and I are friends. And he went and spoke at my Christian event, the Kingdom Summit. He actually did that for free because of our friendship afterwards.
That's amazing.
And now he's coming back to WealthCon 2 years later. Full circle. And the reason I tell that story is it's interesting because for myself, did I need to get him to no, like we had been successful doing WealthCon without having to pay speakers.
Right.
We would always get 1,000 people regardless. So I didn't have to do it. But the amount of things that it led to thereafter have been astounding.
Yeah, and again, that's just back to the employee entrepreneur mindset. You see these things in Technicolor.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like black and white. It just doesn't even compute. I mean,
but you're an entrepreneur now.
Oh, I don't know about that, man. I'm struggling. It's not certainly natural to me, that's for sure.
Dude, you're throwing events. You got a YouTube channel. I mean, obviously you got all the rentals.
Yeah,
those are all very entrepreneurial.
Well, it's
you don't have a job no more.
I haven't had a job for 7-8 years now.
And you make money, so
I certainly do.
What do they call that guy?
Fair enough. But you actually I actually texted you. I almost never do, but I texted you the other day. You had Dave Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was perhaps the most powerful interview I've seen in a long time. And there's a couple of questions I wanted to ask you specifically after you heard Ramsey's story.
Okay.
Right. And to set the stage, if you guys don't know Dave Ramsey's story, Dave Ramsey was a wonderful house flipper for a long. He was
made good money.
He was He had $1 million net worth back when $1 million meant something.
Yeah, it was a lot of money.
It was a lot. It was probably like 10 million today, or maybe 15 today. So a big number. And the market turned, and the market got him, right? 90-day debt, bankrupt. It was all kinds of pain and suffering. And the first thing I wanted to ask is when Dave was reliving that story, I was wondering if you were thinking in your mind going, oh, I remember how this feels. Because you've shared privately that you had
I've shared privately, publicly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I kind of prefaced with that. I told Dave during that interview, I was like, hey, Dave, I want you to know, like, I kind of used to be a hater, dude.
Yeah.
And because most real estate guys don't really like Dave.
Yeah, that one message about debt, right?
Yeah, because as real estate guys, we love debt. And we're like, hey, this is like why real estate's great. You get write-offs. You can leverage.
Yeah.
You get into properties for very little capital. Like, that's great. And he's just like, no debt at all.
Yeah.
Period. So most real estate investors do not like him. And I was one of those guys. And it's not like I didn't respect him.
Sure.
It's just like, I think his advice sucks on that front.
Right.
But to your point, I went through the hardest season of my real estate investing career. And I went through something similar to what he did. The only difference was I had other streams of income.
Correct.
I had other assets, different things going on.
Piggy banks you could go to.
Yep. So I could withstand the storm, whereas he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I still learned the same lessons. And I was like...
You got the scar, you're like, ooh, I remember that one.
Yeah, I was like, Dave, I got to tell you, I understand why you don't like debt. And I'll tell you, I am definitely less debt-friendly than I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a very powerful conversation. The other thing that I appreciate him, I was lucky enough to see him speak once. I've never spoken to him directly. But I heard him say something like this, is, once you have a message, stay on message.
Yeah.
Right? Dave Ramsey has essentially been telling you the same thing for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't change.
Yep.
But it's still relevant. And I think that plays a lot with what I've seen you do over the last 4 or 5 years we've been friends. You're very consistent, staying on message. And I just think... hopefully that resonated as well with you, because you're very similar, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, I told him that. I said, dude, the main thing I respect about you, Dave, may not be that, everyone needs to be debt-free per se. I respect as an entrepreneur that you have done the same thing for 40 years.
Exactly. I thought that was wonderful.
He's literally done a talk show for 3 hours a day for 40 years.
That's crazy.
He doesn't have to do it. He's like, yeah, I got $700 million worth of real estate free.
Debt free.
Yeah. I was like,
damn.
That's pretty good.
That doesn't suck.
Yeah. His business, they got like 1,000 employees. They probably...
Ramsey Solutions, 1,000 employees.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
I don't know what their yearly revenue is, but it's in the hundreds of millions.
It's gotta be, yeah.
If not billion. So, dude, it's crazy the business he's built debt-free. And... but the more important thing is not the result of it, but just knowing the work,
the consistency. The
same thing he said, and he said that he goes, "This stuck with me because somebody else texted me about it too. A lot of people actually texted me about the interview, and my business coach, his name is Gary, said the same thing. He goes, dude, Dave just said something so profound that people probably missed. He said that your purpose never changes, but your process always changes.
Yes.
And that's when him and I were talking about his company always changing, because I was like, Dave, I kind of feel bad that I'm always switching things in my company. Like, I'm just like always having them do something new every week and trying a new thing, a new test, AI, this Facebook ad, this whatever. And he's like, no, that's good. You have to do that. You're right. He's like, the key is, my mission ever since I started this was to help people become debt-free, live better lives, all those things. But the process of how we got there has always changed. He's like, I remember when I was doing radio, all right? Everybody started talking about Sirius.
I remember this.
And they're like, dude, the XM's going to take over the world. And he's like, maybe. We'll try it. We'll do it. But I'm not going to stop doing the thing that also works.
Right.
And then they said the same thing about podcasts. They said the same thing about YouTube. They say the same thing about... He's like, we just do them all.
Yeah.
And he's like, and regardless of whether we're running ads on Facebook or YouTube or TikTok, we're going to keep trying lots of different processes. And guess what? If a process stops working, we stop doing it. He's like, I ain't going to lose money.
Yeah.
But the purpose is still the same.
Yeah, the purpose never changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I thought was really cool about Dave, he shared in the speech that I heard, I think also on your show, was that, he's known for all these things, right? Dave Ramsey's, but he admits like 95% of the things he tried failed.
Yep.
Right? They're only known for the 5%. It's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah. And I've had to get over that too, because early in my entrepreneur career, dude, I literally had a 100% success rate, which is crazy to think about now in hindsight, because I've had so many failures since. And I'm like...
You had a good streak?
Yeah, I was like...
You went 4 for 4 and then...
I was like, dang,
slump.
like... Yeah. I must... everything I touch turns to gold. I must be like invincible.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, whack, failure, lawsuit, failure. Friggin', you look like an idiot. You look like a scammer. You look like this. And it's like, oh, man, okay. Just because something starts out good does not mean it was a good idea.
Right. Yeah.
So it really was interesting, because we're entering a new age, especially if you're online, where everybody knows every little thing about every failure you've ever done.
Right.
They could go look up every property you own. They could go look up every failure you've had. They could go look up any lawsuit. They could go look, like, everything's there.
Right.
Whereas when Dave was starting, nobody knew anything he failed at.
Right.
Which is why you still don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no public record of all of these things. If it was in the newspaper, maybe.
Yeah.
But we're entering this new age where people are so scared to fail because it's on social media. Their parents know about it. Their friends know about it. Everyone knows when you fail. That was not the case 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And it's interesting even for a guy like me today where when I fail, it's even way worse because people know me. And then they're going to comment about it and make YouTube videos about it and Instagrams about it and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I have an option. Do I just quit trying new things, or do I understand that failing is part of it?
Right.
And it's all good.
Huh.
I choose to just say it's all good because I just know
Yeah.
I'm going to find the 5% that just murders it.
Right.
But I have to fail.
Well, the other thing, again, because I watched a lot of your stuff. The other thing you had Grant Cardone on. I think you've had him a couple of times. The one I remember most was Grant talking about haters.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like just a cost of doing business. You never see somebody throw shit from the top. It's always from the right. That
Yeah.
whole thing. I mean, that has to be encouraging as well.
Yeah, and I don't know, dude. Here's the thing. There are people who talk about haters all the time. And so I don't even like talking about it because it like when I see people talking about it, it tells me like, dude, you're like really bothered by this. Like I'm not bothered by it at all. It's just like it just is what it is. I'm like, okay. So
But
like,
it's part of the game. I just want people to realize
it's just part of the game.
Yeah.
So I don't like why am I gonna worry about it? It's just part of it's like, you know, going back to baseball. Oh, I got out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Picked off.
7 out of 10 times
Yeah.
is I'm gonna get out and I'm really good.
Yeah.
Oh, the fans booed me. Okay, whatever. Like, that's just part of the game.
Yeah.
So it's like some people put more weight into things that have to happen in order to be successful, right? I mean, I tell our students this all the time when they're talking to sellers. I'm like, you realize that 99% of your sellers you talk to will not result in a deal.
Right.
That's the reality of what success is. Can you deal with 99% of people saying no? Because if one person says yes out of 100, you just made a lot of money.
Yeah, you just crushed it. Yeah.
Like most people would be happy with one deal a month, right? You talk to 99 people or 100 people and you get one deal a month, you'd be happy. But guess what? Now you start to amplify. It's like, well, I want one deal a week. Well, guess what? You're going to get rejected 99 times this week alone.
Right. Yeah, that's a very valuable skill. When I went to inside sales, you know, we actually had phone counters, right? Back in the day when we actually had to dial, we didn't have auto dialers. And we had to make 100 dials a day.
Yeah.
Right? And 100
How many
dials?
picked up?
Yeah, it was, oh God, I still remember the numbers. I think we were hoping for 10% pickup weight and like 2% scheduled follow-up, something like that.
So 2 out of the 100 dials would
result in a next step, right? And that
meant, not a close.
No, just the next step.
Yeah.
Right. And you just have to be okay. You almost have to look forward to the no's because you know every no is closer to a yes.
Yeah.
You have to reprogram your brain because most people get 5 no's in a row. They're crying on the ground.
Yeah. Well, you know what's also helped me deal with failure, haters, whatever, is the more empathetic you can get, meaning the more you can put yourself in their shoes, the more it helps you understand what's actually happening.
For sure.
So if I'm thinking about, okay, let's say a hater, if somebody's like taking time out of their day to make a video about me, first off, they had to have been watching a lot of stuff I'm doing. They have to like research a ton of crap.
Right.
And then if it's like hateful or whatever, then it's like, dude, man, the Bible tells us like whatever's in your heart comes out of your mouth. So if you're always making negative videos about other people, I just know biblically 1,000% what is happening with you is from what's going on with you.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me.
I agree.
You can pick plenty of people to hate on, which most people do. It's lots of people. It's not just like one person you're obsessed with. And if it is one person you're obsessed with, then you really do like them. Grant would call them a confused fan. That's what he calls
I love that. Confused fan.
Yeah, if you only always are just,
watching my stuff and
yeah, you're a
that's fun.
confused fan. So, like, getting empathetic and understanding what's going on in their lives helps you see that. But then thinking about, okay, now let's think about these sellers that I'm talking to. I'm constantly getting rejected. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. They didn't expect you to call them. You're calling them out of the blue, you know, asking them to buy their house or whatever you were doing with inside sales. Like, dude, they weren't trying to talk to you. Of course they're mad. So don't get mad when they get mad. Don't get discouraged when 99% should not want to talk to you. And then you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's so everything. I'm usually not surprised by things anymore because I'm usually thinking about the other person in mind. And so if I'm thinking from their point of view, when I am creating an ad campaign, when I'm creating a piece of content, when I'm creating a product or an offer, I always first think about the person who is going to view it or buy it, not myself. This is what bad entrepreneurs do. Bad entrepreneurs first look at themselves and they say, okay, what can I sell? What can I do? What can I say? How do I get my price? How do I get the deal I want?
All about them. Yeah.
Nobody cares about you. What do they want? What is it the person who I'm calling needs? Can I give them a solution to what they need? If I can give them a solution to their problem, they will buy it.
Yeah. It's funny. One of the things that we used to talk about doing enterprise sales, $1 million deals, all of that stuff is you have to get the person to buy with their heart first, and then they will justify it with their mind.
Yep.
Right? If you go after the mind only, they're just going to throw up roadblocks.
Yep.
But if you go figure out how to get to their heart, smooth sailing.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever heard sales training, because I'd never had it for a long time. I just was naturally gifted at sales. But somebody used the analogy of a Ferrari. And it's like, does anyone logically buy a Ferrari? Like, how do you logically justify this $300,000 car, terrible MPG, not functional at all, holds 2 people? There's lots of other things you could have did with $300K. Like, where does the logic come into play with this, right? There is not much logical argument you can make. But what do? They make all these emotional marketing. Hey, go feel it, man. How's it feel behind the wheel? How do you feel, dude? Like, everyone's looking at you. Everybody's watching you drive this thing. They're taking pictures next to your car. How's that make you feel when you pull up and everyone knows that this is what you drive? And it's like, yeah, dude, I like this.
Yeah, I need to get me one of these.
Yeah, this is great. And then you know what happens? Like, dude, I got to replicate that feeling. Okay, cool. Man, how am I going to buy this?
I can be a lease payment and write off my business. Blah, blah, blah.
I can get a write-off here. Well, what if I used it in my content? Man, if I just got like 2 deals from my content, it pays for itself.
Bingo.
You start to logically justify.
Yeah, get the heart, go logic. That's what I would tell wholesalers or whatever is to think that way. Think heart first, not mind. It's a pretty powerful thing, back in sales. I am curious. You've interviewed so many people that are the A-listers out there in the world. So I got the Dave Ramsey. I'm curious, Ed Milet. What did you take away from Ed Milet?
Well, you know what's interesting with all of them is most of my takeaways happen after or before the show.
I could see that. Yeah.
Because in most cases, we end up developing a relationship on the show, which is why I love podcasting. I mean, dude, if we get to chill and talk for an hour and a half, odds are, hopefully, we become friends afterwards. And if not, then either we didn't vibe or something bad happened. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, the hope is that we develop some kind of relationship. And so that ends up leading to next steps afterwards. So like even with Ed, this is why I bring it up. I kind of already told you what happened. First I went to his house in Laguna, made a good impression on the podcast. He said, I love what you're doing, bro. This is awesome. Here's my number. Let me know what happened. Like, if you need me, whatever, I'm excited for the event. He then gets to the event, sees the professionalism, sees the experience, sees how well run it was, has a great time. And, we hang out at dinner, we do all that stuff. And then afterwards, he's just like, dude, like, whatever you need, man, I got you. And then guess what? I said, well, I do need something. I got this other event, but I ain't got no budget over there. This is for a nonprofit. Right. I know what you're worth. I paid it. Right. But like, I'm going to lose money on this event throwing it for our Kingdom Summit. But I think it'd be great. Dude, our tickets were only $27 back then. It's like, I don't think you can make 100.
Yeah, that's a lot of tickets.
There's not like, there's not math. There's not a math to get there. Yeah. No. He's like, no, I'll do it for free. Right. So kind of like I've learned a lot from Ed over the years. And what I would say is even for him, I think he just really cares about people.
Yeah, I get that.
In all of our conversations behind the scenes, like randomly, I'll get a text from him. He'll be like, dude, just want you to know I'm really proud of you. Like, love what you're doing here. I saw this clip. Like, he's watching.
Nice.
And I'll actually even give another behind the scenes that no one knows. I didn't even know this. So, my assistant, his name was Jonathan. He died last year.
Yep, I remember.
And, you know, Ed knew who he was because Jonathan was communicating with Ed on, you know, all these different things we did. And Jonathan's son, Austin, works for me. He's now 18. He's worked with me since he was 15. And, you know, obviously it was a tough time for him and for everybody in the company and all that. And Ed, I did not know this, had been communicating with Jonathan while he was sick, DMing him back and forth, checking in on him. Like, this is just...
It's just who Ed is,
yeah. And by the way, this is like not some famous guy, or he's my assistant. Right? And he's communicating with Jonathan. And after Jonathan passed, he kept up that communication with Austin.
Wow.
And nobody would know that. And I didn't even know that till Austin told me one day.
Ed Milet's a good dude.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
So that's something like that you would never hear or know.
That just tells you who he is as core. He doesn't have to do that. Nobody asked him to do that.
Nothing.
Just what's on his heart.
Yeah.
So,
speaking at that event.
Shout out to Ed.
Yeah.
That. You've interviewed everyone. The other one I'd talk about is Andy Elliott.
Andy Elliott. Boy, Andy.
Yeah, he's a handful sometimes. He's passionate.
He's a controversial one.
Yeah, he's controversial. But again, passion is, energy's good.
Yeah.
And you always know where he stands. At least that's my feeling.
Yeah.
What do you take from him?
So a lot of things with Andy, and just in general, Andy's a good example of a lot of, I don't even want to say they're difficult decisions because they're not, but a lot of people, when I have a controversial person on, they'll be like, dude, how are you going to have this guy on? He did X, Y, Z. Same thing happens with literally lots of people I had on.
Yeah.
Especially from Christians. And that's a whole just different topic. But yeah, with Andy, it's cool because him and I have known each other way before he ever got famous.
Oh, really?
So I had Bradley speaking at one of my events. This was maybe 3 years ago. And, Brad is Brad, and he's been around a long time. And Brad goes, hey, I want you to meet one of my friends. This guy's going to be the next big thing.
Wow, okay.
And I go, what's his name? He goes, his name's Andy Elliott. I go, cool. Like, bring him to the event. So he brings him to the event, not to speak, or no one knows who he is.
Right.
Andy just wanted to meet and see the event and everything else. So I meet Andy. Same guy. Jack guy, wearing his short shorts.
Six-pack.
Six-pack.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, okay, so this is Andy. Cool. And I had asked Brad that before, too. I go, who's, like, the next guy that you've seen that nobody knows about? He goes, Andy Elliott. By far. Nobody's, like, I'm just telling you, he's
coming.
He's coming. At the time, he had maybe 20,000 Instagram followers, 20,000 YouTube subscribers. So it's not like he was nobody, but, like, not 2 million.
Right.
Right? So we meet the first time there about 3 years ago. Then I was like, dude, come on the podcast. So he comes back to Vegas, and he brings his whole team. This is the first time I experienced their team.
Okay.
Because they're crazy. And, dude, these guys roll in like 8 people deep. The same exact thing he does today, but now I'll roll like 100 deep.
Wow, okay.
But, dude, he brings 8 people in my office. These guys are, like, getting people fired up, yelling at the sales team, like, going hard on them, okay? And then, Andy and I do our first podcast together, and it's a really good show. And we went to dinner with him and the whole team, and we talked about all these different things, and we talked about things he was working on at the time, what I was working on, and the whole thing, all super genuine. And, obviously since then, the last couple of years, he's blown up. He's spoken at WealthCon multiple times. He's been on the podcast since then. I went to his office because I told him, I go, dude, I got to see your sales team firsthand. Like, I want to see what they do on a daily basis because obviously I'm always looking for ways to get better.
Sure.
I'm like, let's see. I want to know how real this is. He's like, pick a time, pick a day. So we go out, fly in that morning. I spent about 5 hours there just observing their team, talking to everybody. Dude, it's the way they say it is. Like, dude, they're crazy. 24/7.
I like it.
They don't turn it off. I'm like, this is nuts. There's so much going on here, and the culture is so strong that it's insane. So what I would say about Andy is two things. One is I think that he's very misunderstood. That's number one. I think that and part of it I would say was his own fault. Early on, I think he was very focused on just doing whatever it took to get views, very controversial things, yelling at people to rip off their shirts and, all this stuff. And it worked. So I can't even say it was wrong. But now I think
there's a hangover.
Way past all that. And he's talked about it. Now he's more concerned about just giving value and showing other sides of him that aren't just bullying people. He's talking way more about his faith.
Yep.
He's growing in his faith. He's talking more about his family. He's talking more about things that are really trying to help people, not tear people down and just be viral.
Right.
So I think that number one, people might still have kind of this old perception of him, but he's not. He isn't. He's never been that. I think it's just even Grant would tell you the same thing. Like when I hang out with Grant behind the scenes, he is not the way you see him on social media.
Sure.
Nor is Andy.
He's got to raise above the noise.
Yeah, they're both way different behind the scenes. For good or for bad.
Right.
I mean, it really just depends how you want to take it. I like to think I'm the same, both on camera and off camera.
Yeah.
Like I don't
agree with that. Yeah.
I don't really
Same guy.
Yeah, like I don't hype it up for camera, try to like
no.
be all crazy for views. Like I'm just this way all the time. But maybe I should.
Like I think you're doing okay. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't look, to get more views, they do what they do. And right.
They do what they do. Yeah.
So I would say that. But I would say number two, the dude is just super genuine too. So in the same way that you think Ed Milet was, all those stories I just told, also Andy is the exact same way.
Oh wow.
So
I don't think people would get that.
No, nobody would ever know that. So anytime I've ever asked Andy for anything, he's just like, name it. Time and date, I'll be there. You want me to be at WealthCon? I'll be there. You want my team to train you? I'll send them there. You want to come to the office? Come. Whatever you need help with, bro, I'm there.
Nice.
And then same thing too. Dude, I will just get random texts from him all the time. Never asking for anything.
That's amazing.
Just talking about, cool things that he's got going on. Let's see. Like, yeah, dude, he's telling me about a Bible verse he was reading. He's telling me about, this was back in November. He's sending a picture. Dude, this was over 2 years the first time we met. Look at this, man. He's just sending me old pics.
That's nice.
So, yeah, I think he really cares. And by the way, you just caught like a hot streak of guys that I really like. So, but there are some guys that's not like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, that I've interviewed, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be very good friends.
Get the ick factor.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, that was fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't ask for any names.
No, so I'm glad you asked good ones because, if you're like, hey, what if it's this guy? I'd be like, yeah, he was cool.
Yeah. Well,
all right, next guy.
Well, I got a whole bunch of people.
All right. Well, whatever. Maybe I'll do it. All right.
There you go.
Who else you got?
One of the ones I want to ask you about, because again, something I have taken on because of, I think it's Jess Lee Itzler does this, the whole big, do something hard every year. So last year I ran the Vegas Marathon. First time I ran a marathon.
Dude, that's hard.
Yeah, did it, done, never doing it again.
How long did it take?
5 hours.
Dude, that seems fast.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
done
and dusted.
How long did you run?
Like
what percentage were you actually running versus walking?
The first 18 miles.
You ran the first 18 miles?
Yeah, I did first 13 in 2 hours and 2 minutes.
What is that pace?
It's like 8 and change.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So mile 18.
Dude, you're a runner.
Well, yeah, I did train.
Yeah.
Right. So the first 18 was fine. 18 to 21 was painful.
Uh-huh.
And 21 through 26, I thought I was walking on glass.
Did you walk?
I literally walked almost, except for like the last quarter mile when like everybody's looking at you. But yeah, the last 4 miles were painful.
Wow.
Painful steps.
How long did it take to recover? Like, what was up with your feet after?
The feet were not good for a week. I was 10-man for 3 days. I mean, everything hurt. from literally from the ears down, everything hurt.
Wow.
Just, it was crazy. Anyways, never doing that again. But my 2025 challenge is I'm going to try to get to 9.9% body fat as a 53-year-old.
That's hard.
And I started January 1st at 34%. I'm down 15 pounds already.
Wow.
But where I'm going to this, I know you did a lot of research. You had Gary Brecka on. I think Gary Brecka looked at your blood work. So any thoughts on how does, older guys get healthy? Any thoughts on all of that?
I'm not a doctor, so
yeah, neither am I.
Take what I say with a grain of salt.
Sample of one.
Okay, so I'm gonna preface that, but I would say, number one, obviously your diet and your work. Well, okay, so the first thing that's most important is your diet.
Yep,
always will be your diet.
Okay.
Second thing, your workouts matter. The thing that freaking I like are peptides and testosterone.
Okay.
At 53 for sure.
Yeah.
Now, 35,
you
don't
started
need all that.
creams, right? And then did you do shots or no?
Yeah, so I do shots now.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, look, I'm not here to go tell everyone to go do TRT and all this stuff. I'm 35 now, and for me, I just decided it was time.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been with a lot of doctors and different things, and then I've tried lots of different peptides over, the last year. And actually, you know what's interesting? I would say, when did I start the journey? July of 2023, I started the journey of those different things.
Right.
And I did it for about 9 months, and I got more jacked than I've ever been. I put on like 15 pounds, stronger than ever. It was crazy.
You were always an athlete.
Yeah.
You're just skinny.
Yeah. So then I started to put on some mass. And after that, I actually ended up kind of like getting off of everything for about a year. And part of the reason why is because TRT, as some would say, is like a birth control.
Right. Lowers.
Yeah. Yep. And so we decided we want to have another kid.
Oh. Okay.
And so I have to like start the process of getting off. So I basically got off everything. And, that sucks. It sucks getting off everything when you've been on it.
Okay.
Because it affects everything
mood
else.
Swing and
just energy levels more than anything. I wouldn't say my mood's different.
Okay.
Just energy, strength, all that stuff.
Sure.
Whatever, right? So long story short, I haven't been on anything crazy for like the last, I don't know, 6 to probably 6+ months.
But there's a bigger reason.
Yeah. And
I'm not looking to have kids. I'm 53. I'm good.
Yeah, dude, you can go on all the sauce you want. But once we're confirmed pregnant, I'll be back on all the sauce.
Okay. Because it was worthwhile getting your blood test, all that stuff. You notice a big change.
Gosh, dude, it's so different.
All right.
So different. So if you want to get there, man, a lot of people will be like, don't take. It's like, here's how I look at it. You're going to be on stuff no matter what. So I, for example, have to drink water and eat food every day.
Me too.
Right? I've been on multivitamins and all these other supplements, every day. I eat eggs every day. I eat 200 grams of protein every day. I've been doing that my whole life, essentially, since being an athlete and as an adult. It's like I do other stuff that I'm committed to for life. I work out weekly for life. So to me, logically, it didn't make much sense that I was treating this other stuff any different.
Yeah, makes total sense. You actually brought up Brad Lee earlier. That's a name I had on the list. He's been doing this a long time.
My knucklehead friend. Yeah.
Curious, what'd you take from Brad Lee?
Dude, Brad is so funny. I don't think he's that misunderstood. He is the jokester that he is.
Yeah.
One is, okay, let me add this. All three guys you mentioned, Brad, Andy, Ed, Dave Ramsey. I can't remember who else you might mention.
Grant.
Okay, so Grant would not fall into this. But all four of those guys are Christians. And Dave's been a Christian a really long time. Ed is getting more and more on fire by his faith. And then I would call Andy and Brad new. And it's really cool to see all of their progression. Because as somebody who, I've been a Christian my whole life, and I think I've gotten a lot more on fire in the last couple of years. But it's been cool. Like, the reason I just bring all this whole stuff up is the first time I ever met Brad and we did a show, we had this debate about Jesus. Like, it went viral. And Brad was basically like, that's not his name. That's not his name. This is the thing. His name is Yeshua. And I'm like, Brad, this is just what it means in, Hebrew, like it's still the same. And like he was really hung up on that for a really long time. And he still might be hung up on a little bit. But long story short, it's funny because Brad had a life-changing event where his daughter almost died.
Oh.
Like recently.
She
almost drowned.
Wow.
His wife found her in the pool, face down. And she's like 3 years old, 2 years old.
Wow.
It was like she shouldn't have lived. And miraculously saved. And totally fine too.
Good.
Without any air.
Good.
So I think that part of that was a huge part of his life. We talked about it on our last episode we did on changing. I also think that with him, he's funny because first off, a lot of people think him and I wouldn't be like compatible because we're very different, but I just think he's hilarious because he doesn't take himself too seriously at all, right? A lot of people take themselves very seriously in their image and their, I don't know, maybe they're insecure. A lot of these biggest guys are very insecure. You would never know, but super insecure. Brad is not, and I am also not.
Yeah. And
that's why we get along, because we can just talk crap, have a great time. Neither of us take each other super seriously. And I just enjoy people like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, there's no ego. It's just like, do whatever.
Nice, nice. What about, I know you interviewed Tony Robbins. You might have done it twice, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, once.
About, he was releasing a book, as I recall, that interview. What
you know what's interesting about Tony? One, I didn't get to really talk much.
He does. Don't worry, that's on every interview.
I know, and I got warned about it too. A lot of people were like, hey, just so you know, like, he's going to like steamroll.
Yeah.
That's how he is.
He's going to talk.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to just try to jump in the best I can as a good host. And sure enough, dude, I asked one question and it was like already a 5-minute thing. And then like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like now I'll get to like give feedback or ask a new, but then he asked himself a new question. Like it just steamrolls into the next thing he wants to talk about. And he like, it just naturally flows. So I will say he was one of those interviews where I don't think we developed really any rapport.
Right. It was a transaction to him. He was selling his book.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how I would describe it too.
Well, and he was on others. I mean, he went on a whole series.
Yeah, he did a tour. And so, you know, it's good to just, you know, do something.
Right.
And build, I guess, some kind of relationship. But yeah, that interview, I was just like, all right, whatever. I mean, that is what it is.
Check the box. That was.
Yeah. You know, you interview him and it's great. And, you know, we'll see what else comes of it.
Sure.
At the end of the day. But I can't really say I learned anything from it.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, the other thing that I think is going on out there is a lot more people are talking about small businesses. I think we have Alex and Layla Hormozi in Vegas.
Yep.
And then Cody Sanchez. I think she's out of Texas, I think.
Yep.
It's fun to watch. I'll group those two together as, you know, hey, go be small business owners or go buy a business. And then, you know, Ryan Pineda is the real estate guy. At least that's how you started. Yeah. More entrepreneur now. But what do you see in those folks? You know, Alex and Layla and then Cody. You've interviewed them a couple of times.
Yeah. So I've had both of them also at WealthCon, and I've had them on the podcast. And it's really cool as I don't know. I don't want to say I have an eye for talent, but I got to interview both of them really early.
I saw that first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really early.
And just like with Andy Elliott, the same thing. I've gotten, like, I know when somebody's legit. And I can just see it in the way they speak, the way they present themselves. So I remember with Alex, this was back in 2020.
Wow, that's really early.
Yeah. I saw him make some YouTube videos, and at the time he had like 10,000 subs, 20,000 subs, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this fool is really smart. Like, people don't know who, like, this is some of the best information I've ever seen.
Like an MBA in a box back then.
Yeah, I was like, how does this guy have 20,000? This doesn't make any sense. And then I started to see him pop up on TikTok and Instagram. And then I noticed one of my friends, Ryan McGinn, who was, okay, so long story short, to give some context to this whole story. Ryan McGinn, I see him on TikTok. This is back in 2020 when no entrepreneurs were doing it. And I'm seeing him do this little subtitle thing. Nobody was doing it at the time. And I was like, huh, that's really cool. I like that. Now, obviously, everyone has subtitles, right? But this was 2020. Nobody was doing it. And then I see Cardone doing the same exact ones. And I knew. I was like, there's no way Cardone's just doing that.
Right.
So I reach out to Ryan. I go, hey, are you doing Cardone's stuff? And he goes, well, I can't say, but
yeah,
you know, you see what you see.
You see what you see.
Yeah. And I was like,
you can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. I was like, well, can you do it for me? And he goes, yeah. Like, I don't have any, like, he's the only client I got.
Right.
Essentially.
Right.
And I was like, well, do it for me. So he starts doing it for me. So that's how I started repurposing my podcast. This was back in 2021.
Look at that.
Nobody was doing it. So then I see Hormozy has the same subtitles. This is after. And I go, Ryan, did you just sign this guy Hormozy? Like, I started seeing his YouTube videos. Nobody knows who he is yet.
Yeah.
Dude, this dude is smart.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, like, you know, he's really smart. He's also in Vegas. I go, he's in Vegas? Dude, link us up. So then he links us up on a Zoom. And this had to have been in 2021, early. And we just start talking and getting to know each other and stuff. And I was like, dude, I would love to have you on the pod. Like, you know, let's do this. And so anyways, that led to them being on the pod in 2021. And then they spoke at my event in 2022. And, you know, same thing. I think Cody came on in 2021 or 2022, way before she blew up. And we spent a whole day here and it was awesome. So I'm really fortunate, I would say, to catch a lot of people way before maybe they blow up, because you get to obviously spend more time with them, get to know them,
right,
all these things. So that being said, what would I learn from both of them? Well, first thing I'll say is I'm super grateful for both of them because, you know, I mentioned the story about paying Ed. I had both of them at my events and they did it for free.
Wow.
And both wouldn't do it today for free.
But they did.
But they did. And Alex and Layla spent 3 hours speaking at the event. And I'll never forget this. So, you know, I'm talking. I'm like, so, you know, what do you guys want to talk about? What, like, literally talk about whatever you want. You guys are awesome. And, you know, I was like, okay, you know, we decided that Layla would give like an hour presentation. Alex would do an hour. And then I would do like a Q&A with both of them.
Right.
So that's what we ended up doing. And everyone loved it. It was just so good. Layla talked about hiring. Alex talked about leverage and other things at that moment. But Alex told a story about how he had this whole presentation built up. And randomly, I forgot this happened, we were doing one of our after parties. We do an after party every night at WealthCon. By the way, everyone should go to WealthCon, wealthcon.org. And we randomly ran into him at this place. Like, he wasn't supposed to be there or anything. And they were having frozen yogurt at the place. And so a lot of people saw them and were talking to him and everything else. And he told the story. He goes, you know, I had this whole presentation built, but this morning I spent 4 hours building a new one.
Wow.
Because after talking to so many people that night, I realized they needed different information.
And he changed it.
He built literally like 150 slide presentation that morning from scratch just for that event.
Another good person.
Yeah. And so the point I'm making with that story, I want to tell stories that people would never know.
Right. No, it's
is that they did that on their own time for free because it was the right thing to do. Well, speaking of my event they didn't have to speak at my event, but he changed his presentation.
He was ready to rock. He clearly practiced it.
Yep.
He threw it out the window.
Threw it out the window to give what he felt the audience needed. And I think that is why he has had so much success the last couple of years, is because he thinks with the end user in mind. And he's like, hey, what does my audience need? What kind of content do they need? He doesn't think from his perspective of what do I want to talk about.
Right.
I'm guilty of that. I'm very guilty of, dude, I don't want to think through different topics and videos, dude. I just want to talk, and whatever interests me at that very moment is what I'm going to talk about. And that's gotten me so far.
Right.
But not as far as him, because he's thinking more about what they want, which is the correct way to do it.
That's interesting. It's actually interesting. The more and more I watch his stuff, I actually think I think Alex gets all the props and all the love that he rightly deserves. I think Layla's the secret weapon.
Yeah.
I think she grounds him. She makes him think deeper. And she brings her own superpower to the table.
Oh, and she's totally different.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's a killer.
She's a
just
killer.
on her own.
She's a killer, yeah.
And so, yeah, she brings that to the table. And Cody's the same way. It's interesting. Cody just released her book. She was going to come here a couple of months ago, and then something happened. So, unfortunately, we couldn't do that pod. But, Cody's interesting, too, because I think, like you said, they're very similar. And I would have said about 3 years ago, they were both very similar. If you would have watched both of our podcasts we did with both of them, they're around the same time. They both have very similar ideology about life. So that was one thing that I brought up during that podcast was, as a Christian, at that time, Alex was talking a lot about just like, man, life doesn't really mean anything. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to die and everyone's going to forget you. And it was really grim. And I was like, dude, that kind of sucks. So I was like, yeah, I'm like, how do you even have any optimism to like go run a business and build it if you just kind of know it doesn't mean anything? And it was a really interesting paradox to kind of go walk through those different ideas. But Cody also had similar ideas at that time. She was just talking about, I'll just say they were similar. You'd have to watch the episodes to see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But recently, she has been posting way more about faith and church.
She sure has.
And everything
relationship
else.
And her husband.
Yeah, and she's like, hey, I was wrong about this stuff. Like going to church, like I think, people are right. Like this makes a difference. So it's really cool to see. I'm excited to see where her life is headed on that front. And I haven't got a chance to talk to her in depth. That's why I really wanted her to come on.
Yeah.
Because I really want to see what changed. And it's not like she wasn't a good person or anything before, because both are awesome people, like I said. But I am curious to see like what has shifted in her life that is making her more about it.
Yeah, there's probably a thing or a story.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love to see it.
Yeah, there you go. How about Patrick Bet David? I think he's a very interesting individual.
Dude, it's funny you're just like asking me all these people. I don't think I've ever talked about like any of them because I always don't want to be the guy talking about other people. So I never reflect on my guest or anyone else. Like I'm talking to them, whatever them and I are talking about. I don't want to talk about them offhanded. But all these people are great, so I don't mind it. I just don't want to be the hater guy.
No.
Right? So with PBD, man, I've met him a couple of times now. And the time I did interview him was at his office. And this was back in 2022.
Is that in Florida?
Yeah, in Florida.
Okay.
And I remember first day I meet him, he's great, super hospitable, all these things. And he had just sold his company. It wasn't public yet. He goes, hey, when's this air? I go, whenever. You tell me. He's like, okay. Well, I just sold my company for like $250 million. I was like, oh, that's pretty big news.
Yeah, that's the big number.
Yeah, he's like, so we could talk about that. He's like, just make sure you release it
after.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. You already trust me. Great.
We're starting off on a good
I'm going to go break the news.
New story.
Yep. Patrick's, no one knows. I'm the breaker. No. So, anyways, yeah, we do the interview and everything else, and we talk about all these different things. The one thing I'll say about Patrick is, number one, he's obviously built two amazing things that people don't realize. So one was, he built the insurance company, sold it for, hundreds of millions. But the second thing is what he's building at Valuetainment.
That is awesome.
Yeah, like to build a media company now and to really, like, he could build $1 billion media company.
I think he will.
Yeah. And so to see how he's kind of like built both simultaneously is really interesting to watch.
Was it simultaneously?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, so this was the first time we met. So I met him at my friend Sean Cannell's event, who you know.
Yep.
And we were at Growth Video Live. And I'm actually with my friend Ruslan, who's a Christian YouTuber. And Ruslan at that point, that's a whole different story. He was just getting into YouTube. And I remember we were a part of a Monday morning Bible study virtually. Okay, he had 20,000 subs. Now he has millions.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, dude, how do you do it? And I was like, well, we'll hop on a call. I'll tell you a little bit about it. At that time, I had maybe, 100,000, 200,000 or something. And long story short, I see him at this event with Sean because Sean, and I are in this Bible study. He's like, Ryan, you got to meet Patrick. I know him. I was like, all right, cool. So he hypes me up. He's like, Pat, this is Ryan, dude. He's the best. You know, his YouTube channel, he's already got like 200,000 subs in like 2 years. And, you know, he's real estate business. Dude, you guys got to get to know each other. And Pat's like, dude, that's awesome, man. He's like, did you know, Ryan? This is our first interaction. He goes, when I started Valuetainment like a decade ago, we had, I forgot the exact number. He's like, we only got to, I want to say like 3,000 subs in the first 3 years.
Wow.
It was something extremely low.
But he kept going.
Yeah, and he's like, the fact that you're already at where you're at, it's crazy. And he goes, you know, here's my advice. You got to reinvent yourself every cycle. And he goes, when we hit like 250,000 subs, we took a month off.
I remember this. Yeah, he took a break.
Yeah, he told me he took a break, game planned, reinvented themselves. He said, then we hit 1 million, took a break, took a month off, didn't post, reinvented ourselves. We hit X million, we reinvented, and it's obvious to see now, right? I mean, you've seen the evolution of what he's done. Now he's very into politics and his
future
podcast
is bright.
and all that. Yeah. But before it was really about entrepreneurs and all that. And then before that, dude, he was doing mafia stuff and short films. And so, yeah, I mean,
makes sense.
He's been constantly reinventing. And this is no different than what Dave Ramsey said. Dave Ramsey said the same thing. You got to constantly reinvent the process of what you're doing. The people he's trying to serve have not changed. He's always been trying to help entrepreneurs.
Right.
But the process of how he does it keeps changing. And so that's one thing that I realize with all these great entrepreneurs, especially Patrick, is you got to have the ability and the courage to not only stop doing something, but to completely pivot gears. Because I've had to stop many businesses and shut them down. Patrick, every great entrepreneur has had to do that. But I've never stopped my YouTube channel in 5 years. And I'm coming up on 400,000 subs, you know, who knows? It might,
almost 400. It's 396, I think I checked this morning.
It might be the time, or maybe at 500K. Maybe it's not like whatever arbitrary number it becomes. But at some point, whatever got me to this point won't get me to the next point. And so I got to decide whether or not it's important to me to try and go for the next point. If it's going to be 1 million, right? Well, what gets me to 1 million?
So that's fun to think about, because when I look at Patrick, Bet David, and again, I don't know him, never been lucky enough to speak with him, I see him as he wants to be $1 billion media company. I'm just making that number up.
Yep.
When I look at Ryan,
and he told me that 2 years ago, by the way.
Wow, he saw that early.
Well, he told it on the podcast.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, he was like,
that's where we're going.
He goes, now that I've sold my company, I got to still be the CEO and face for however long
whatever,
the earnout is. He's like, but my focus is Valuetainment.
Right.
I'm gonna build this into
and he just bought that big piece
company.
of real estate in Florida, the hangar, and all of that.
So. Yeah, so this has all been part of his plan.
Yeah, that's again. I think entrepreneurs can see the future in Technicolor, like I said earlier.
By the way, in hindsight, I wish I would have hired him for WealthCon, because I had the chance, and I don't know, 2-3 years ago, to get him at WealthCon. I remember I was like, you know, looking at speakers and all the stuff. And at the time he was $70,000. And dude, I never paid that. Like everything was free. I'm like, $70,000, that's a lot of money. And, you know, we looked at each other and everyone, and we're like, it's all good. We won't do it.
Yeah.
We just weren't big enough yet. Like our events were like 300 people. We weren't at the 1,000 plus.
Right.
So then when we finally got to that status where it's like, oh yeah, we could afford somebody. I remember reaching out back to Patrick, and they're like, yeah, Patrick's like $200,000.
Not 70.
Yeah, and I was like, huh. And then I reached out back again. He's like, yeah, since he sold his company for $250 million, like, yeah, Patrick's like $300,000 now. And I'm like, man, I should have probably got him when he was 70
grand. Opportunity missed.
Yeah, you know, but we're still friends and still did podcasts, and we'll do other stuff.
That's pretty cool. Well, it's funny. I don't know if you know this. You probably do, because you like data and numbers. Your most popular podcast by views with a guest. So there are a couple of videos of just you solo.
It's you.
No, Lisa Sutton. I'm number 2.
Lisa's number 1?
Lisa Sutton is number 1 by like 2,000 or 3,000 views.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Lisa Sutton. So, you know, I think Lisa's an amazing story. She's actually speaking at my event.
Oh, nice.
In a couple of weeks. And obviously she's going to be welcoming her new baby here soon, so she's pregnant. I don't know if you
Yeah,
knew that,
yeah.
but yeah.
I think that episode and what we did on the mailbox kind of put her on the map.
Yeah, that mailbox one blew up.
Yeah, because at that time
It was a great thumbnail too.
Yeah, her and I met in a group called YPO.
Yep.
And
YPO,
I was like, dang, like this mailbox thing you do is cool. Like you should
kind of
come
real
on.
estate, sell by.
Yeah, and then I had her at WealthCon and everything else, and then
that's where I ran into her, is at WealthCon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I've seen her on different things since then, so that doesn't surprise me. I don't look at I have no idea. I'm like, dang, I can't believe that one blew up the way it did.
Yeah, it's 400. I think it was 496. I prepared for this, so she's the number one. I'm number two.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta boost your views.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Come on,
We
go
gotta
check it out. So as we kind of bring this home, what is really having a podcast long form really done for you, the person, and then Ryan the brand, and then Ryan the business? What is having access to all of these people done for you first?
Wow, that's a great way to put it. Me personally, obviously it's about the relationships. So me personally, getting to know all these people. I've been saying this for a while now, and people just didn't listen. But I'm like, you got to do podcast. It's way better than any other form of content,
Right.
and it's not that just business wise conversions and all this. It's all the benefits of it, because the thing is, none of these people, if I invite them and say, hey, you want to just come hang out
Yeah.
for 2 hours and just talk? Yeah, a couple would,
Yeah.
but very few would.
Right.
But the fact that it can become leverage and get thousands of views and then be cut up and everything else makes it worthwhile. And also get it, exposed to a different audience and whatever else, right? So personally, being able to literally call all of these people I mentioned and text them and ask them for feedback, ask them for help or favors or whatever. I mean, what do you...
Yeah. You can't put a price on
Yeah,
it.
there's no price. So I think that's been a really cool thing personally. And the different doors, too, that it's open to meet people I would have never met.
Yeah. All of the ones we've talked about today, maybe ex Tony Robbins, you could text out of the blue and they'd respond.
Yeah. Even a funny story even about Dave Ramsey, Patrick Lencioni, who was on the show, is the one who introduced me to Dave because he was like, dude, I really like you. Like, I want to introduce you to Dave. I'm like, great. I'd love to meet Dave. And Dave sent me an email, and I literally didn't respond because I don't check my emails.
Right.
And my assistant, Jonathan, literally he's in the hospital going through this whole thing, and he's not checking all my stuff anymore. He's like, dude, I got bored, and I just went through your emails. Did you know Dave Ramsey emailed you? And I was like, no.
Whoops.
Yeah, and I was like, when? He's like, dude, it was like 10 days ago. You ghosted him. And I was like, oh, man. Well, I should probably respond to that.
Maybe I should respond to that.
Yeah, so
Whoops.
you want to get a hold of me, don't email me.
Note
So-
to self, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, but yeah. So yeah, all of them I can go hit up and it's great. But so yeah, I would say personally there's that. Personal brand wise, I mean, look, I think there's two things that it does. One is, I mean, obviously authority. So when you're around other people and they respect you and you it just creates more authority and stronger brand. But also too, I like it because I don't have to prep. And that's a good and a bad thing.
Right.
Because, dude, I don't prep. I just show up and I expect that it's going to be a good conversation because I'm just a curious person and I want to know about people. So I would way rather interview somebody and talk than think, man, okay, what are the 7 tips I'm going to give this person about freaking this thing?
The outline, yeah.
I hate that.
Okay.
I did that my first couple of years. And by the way, maybe I need a break because I know doing that would get me to 1 million. Like, you can literally reverse engineer virality.
Right.
Like, I could go look up all the most viral videos, remake them, do my own version of the list.
Right.
And
The 7 this, the 4 that.
I just don't want to do it. But it is the smart thing to do. So anyways, I like podcasts because I don't have to do nothing. I just show up and we just riff. It's great.
Yeah.
And then the third thing would be business-wise. Yeah. Business-wise, it's interesting, right? Because on one hand, if I do make a training real estate video, I don't enjoy doing it because I talk about the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
On the other hand, business-wise, it will get so many leads for the business. If you go watch an hour training about me teaching you how to wholesale a house, odds are you're going to be like, all right, I like what this guy has to say. I want to do it. I want to learn more. And they're going to go to Wealthy Investor.
Right.
So from a lead generation standpoint, long-form training videos are amazing for the business. They're also amazing for sending to people who maybe come in through a paid ad or something. It's like, hey, go watch this video.
Yeah, just repurpose
get
it.
some value, and check it out. As far as podcasts go, it's not like we're doing training or anything right here. But what I think it does is it builds trust. And so somebody who maybe came in from a training, they're like, okay, I get it. You understand the X's and O's. But then when you get to listen for 90 minutes about life, and you get to see the personality.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
The character. You're like, okay, I trust this person. Like, I didn't come here for a training. I came to see what kind of person this is, and I like it. And so, yeah, I think podcasts help with building trust.
Yeah, I think that's wise advice. So when is the next WealthCon?
July 24th to the 27th.
Nice.
Ed Milet, Brandon Turner. I've got some others up my sleeve, but
very cool.
Just that's all you need to know.
There you go. That's right. Ed Milet. We heard about him earlier. Big heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
paid him a lot of money. Get a diamond ticket. I'm trying to get him for free.
There you go.
From you guys buying diamond tickets.
There you go.
Dude, this is actually, by the way, this is a good story about the diamond ticket. So I talked about how, that's subsidized getting the cost.
Sure.
But what I didn't realize was what people would like about the diamond ticket. So in my mind, I was like, well, okay, I'm going to give them, front row seats. That's obvious. We're going to have dinner. And I think the dinner's going to be the thing that everybody wants. Wrong.
Really?
People like the dinner. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
The most valuable aspect for them was in the last second, I said, you know what? Why don't I give them like their own separate backstage area?
Like a green room.
Yeah.
Almost.
I'm like, why don't I give them the green room? And then I'll just have every speaker come stop by for like however long they want, right? Whether it's 5 minutes or whether it's an hour, let each speaker decide what they want to do.
Genius.
And I'm like, I'm going to create them a green room and just let them watch from there. So you know what happened? Nobody was in the front row. So I got rid of that because I'm like, dude, this looks terrible.
Yeah,
why is there?
That's bad on video.
Yeah, there's no one in the front.
Yeah.
Because they're all in the green room.
Right.
And you know what ended up happening? Two things. They got so much time with all the speakers, not just Ed, that they were just like, this is the best thing ever.
I'll do it again, yeah.
The second thing that happened was they all became buddies because
that's true. They're all
in there together. And the thing is, dude, you spend 3 days together.
Yeah.
And everyone paid $10,000 for a ticket.
Yeah, everybody's equal. Everybody can pay $10,000.
That's the point. Right. Everybody's a big roller.
Oh, yeah, they're going deep. Yeah.
If you're paying $10,000 for a ticket, you got some money.
Yep. That's
so
cool.
everybody was very qualified. And so when I asked them for feedback afterwards, I'm like, so what'd you like the most? Like, this dinner was tight, right? And they're like, yeah, the dinner, that was good. That was good. That was like a good way to end it because it was the end.
Right.
They're like, it was good to cap it off, but this was what we liked.
There we go.
Yeah. So it's funny. Sometimes you think something is going to be so good and that this is the thing that they're going to love. And maybe that's what they buy for initially.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But you realize
that's
what it is they really like.
Diamond tickets, green room,
10K.
Speakers.
Don't ask for a discount.
They'll be. You don't need them.
Well, they're gonna sell out regardless.
There you go. Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's always fun to do it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you, dude.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Good job, dude.
Yeah, that was fun.